Mr. President, honored guests, and members of the Dartmouth community, this convocation marks the beginning of Dartmouth's 241st year. I am Sylvia Spears, Acting Dean of the College, and I am especially pleased to welcome all of our students, both undergraduate and those pursuing advanced degrees from our graduate programs and professional schools. We also extend a special welcome to all of you who are attending your first convocation at Dartmouth. Convocation today will open with a prayer offered by Richard Crocker, the Virginia Rice Kelsey 61 Dean of the William Jewett Tucker Foundation and the college chaplain. Please welcome Reverend Richard Crocker.
Convocation means calling together. So here we are, called together again, faculty, students, staff, alumni, friends, to affirm our great common calling. We are assembled here only footsteps away from the very spot where Eleazar Wheelock and his 13 scholars began this college 240 years ago. Their first act was to pray, something as natural and important to them as breathing. For some of us now, it is harder. We are more aware of differences, more doubtful about ultimate purposes, more wary of transcendent claims. Yet in our hearts, with our lungs, we all know our dependence on realities larger than ourselves. Apart from air, apart from breath, apart from spirit, we cannot live. And so as we live and breathe, may that holy breath, that Holy Spirit, remind us of our connection to all creation and stir and sustain and unite us in love for it. Amen.
Please rise and join the gospel choir in the singing of America the Beautiful. Honors Student Body President, Eric Tanner, a member of the class of 2011, came to Dartmouth from the Hackley School in Tarrytown, New York. Now a resident of New York City, Eric is a geography major with a minor in art history. In keeping with his interests, Eric spent the spring of 2009 studying art history in Rome and on the Dartmouth Forum Study Program. He then participated in the Dartmouth Youth Volunteer Teaching Program, teaching 6th grade English and social studies in the Marshall Islands. Eric serves as social chair of Chi Gamma Epsilon, a local fraternity, and is a member of Paleopolis Senior Society. He is also a senior admissions tour guide. This past summer, Eric ran operations at the Seeds of Peace International Camp in Otisfield, Maine, a place where kids from almost a dozen nations of conflict come together to live with one another, engage in dialogue, and peacefully coexist. Now, as he enters his senior year, Eric looks forward to working with the incoming class of 2014, as well as with the rest of the community, to make Dartmouth a better place. Please join me in welcoming Eric Tanner.
Thank you, Dean Spears, for that introduction. President Kim, Provost Folt, faculty, staff, trustees, distinguished guests, members of G46 Harder Hiking, and fellow students. 5 years ago, Steve Jobs of Apple gave a commencement address where he spoke of, quote, connecting the dots in life. Said Jobs, "You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward." A few weeks ago, as I drove up to campus, I found myself starting to connect the dots of my 3 years so far in this place, this college. What were the reasons that I chose to come here? How has my experience here differed from my friends at other schools? Why did dancing the salty dog rag on my freshman trip seem so normal? And finally, what is it that brought each of you, the beautiful class of 2014, here to the seats that you occupy today? After 3 years of being on campus, I have realized that such a feeling of comfort here at Dartmouth does not come from any statistic or any blurb in the Fisk Guide. This comfort comes from the collective group that you have heard about and have now entered, the Dartmouth community. I got that feeling in my gut when I toured this campus in 2006 that this was a community that I wanted to be a part of for 4 years. Everyone I met seemed to treat each other with such kindness and respect, even if it was a lowly prospy like me. As a hardened New Yorker, I wanted to, even for just 4 years, be a part of a community like that. So here I am, and now here you are as well. So I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you to our community. Let's just start with one special number, 1,362. Besides your class year of 2014 and your own student ID number, the number 1,362 may very well be the most important number for you here at Dartmouth. And why is that? While I hope you realize that you are Dartmouth Green for life, most of you will graduate on Sunday, June 14th, 2014. That date is only 1,362 days from today. Yeah, that's messed up. Your actual time here on this campus, in this community, as an undergraduate with these people is finite, and the clock starts ticking right now. So how will you spend those days? My advice to each of you is to completely immerse yourself into this dynamic community. Experience the full spectrum of what it offers you. Learn from your fellow students, from your professors, and from your own experiences. From the camaraderie of reading period holed up in Baker Berry to the jubilation of a Dartmouth touchdown, to the calming joy of hour-long lunches and home plate, talking with the people you know will be your lifelong friends. Look at the way you have interacted this past week during your orientation. You might have become best friends with someone simply because you said how much you liked watching Jersey Shore and they invited you to watch it with them. Or maybe you saw someone at every academic open house you attended and you finally decided to strike up that conversation. No matter how desperate or even forced it might feel, those little connections might in the end be the basis for one of the strongest friendships you will ever have. Never lose that drive to keep building relationships. Never lose that drive to keep building friendships. Never lose that drive to keep connecting the dots. Friendships are the way that we can connect more dots than we ever could on our own. Friendships are the key to getting the most out of our Dartmouth experience. From the first moment you reached Robo for your DOC trip until right now, you all have already gone out of your comfort zones and spent time with so many different people. You have already started building foundations for what might be unbreakable bonds. The truth of the matter is that many of those links will get even stronger. However, some links might remain weak and fragile. That does not mean, however, that they should be ignored completely. If you see someone this winter who you met during orientation, but you haven't spoken to since, say hi to them. You know they recognize you, and you certainly recognize them, so take the time to reach out and just say hey. Make that effort to connect. Make that extra effort to care. Never, never, never lose that desperation to meet new people. Always remember that Dartmouth is such a tightly knit institution that any person on any given day has the chance to become an integral and vital part of your life, be it academic, social, or maybe even romantic. It is my hope that over the past week you have begun to get that sense. It is also my hope that you have done something to make someone else feel deep down like they belong here too. Being a senior now makes me appreciate this place even more because I've started to realize that this all won't last. I know that when I graduate and my Blitz is deactivated and my ID doesn't pay for my meals anymore, I will look back and miss these days when I was constantly in the presence of people who were looking out for me, who wanted to get to know me, who wanted to make me feel included. And I can only wish the same for you. While you become engrossed in your academic, social, and extracurricular life here, I hope you will take the time to appreciate what John Sloan Dickey wrote and President Kim frequently alludes to as the sweetness of the Dartmouth community. I hope that over the next 4 years, you as a class will work to connect more dots around this campus and make our community feel more united and more welcoming than ever. So, when you walk across the green to graduate in just 1,362 days, how will you, as an individual member of your class, leave this community, much like a DOC campsite, better than you found it? For me, that question remains unanswered. Maybe you all can help me figure it out. But I do know this. When I graduate out on the green in June, I will not think about the buildings, the food, or even the natural beauty that surrounds this place. I will think of the people that make Dartmouth. Said Steve Jobs, you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. This approach has never let me down, and it has made all the difference in my life. Class of 2014, your future is now. Trust our Dartmouth community and start connecting the dots. One last thought that I would like to leave you with, this time from another giant of giants in the world of business and industry, Dunder Mifflin's Scranton Regional Manager, Michael Scott. Scott once said, "What is the single most important thing for a company? Is it the building, the stock, the turnover? No, it's the people." Class of 2014, it's the same thing here. Welcome to Dartmouth. Take care of our college. Take care of yourself. But most importantly, please take care of each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. I think you made your family proud. Our next speaker is Reverend Leah Daughtry. Reverend Daughtry is a nationally recognized teacher, preacher, speaker, organizer, leader, and democratic strategist. Reverend Daughtry is pastor of the House of the Lord Church in Washington, D.C. With her ordination in 2002, she joined the 5th consecutive generation of pastors in her family. She is president and CEO of On These Things, LLC, which provides strategic planning, issues advocacy, and organizational management and consulting services to a broad array of businesses and organizations. A sought-after coalition builder and strategic thinker, Reverend Daughtry served as Chief Executive Officer of the 2008 Democratic National Convention Committee, responsible for all aspects of planning and execution of the Democratic Party's quadrennial presidential nominating convention. She simultaneously served as Chief of Staff of the Democratic National Committee, the DNC, the governing body of the National Democratic Party. She is the creator of Faith in Action, the Democratic Party's outreach to communities of faith, and was named by Religion News Service as one of the 12 most influential Democrats in the nation on faith and values, politics, and issues. A native of Brooklyn, New York, Reverend Daughtry held various senior posts at the United States Department of Labor, the United States Congress, and the Democratic Party. She remains connected to her community through her service on numerous boards of directors and her involvement in a variety of social, political, and public service initiatives. In all of her endeavors, Ms. Daughtry seeks to bring sound, principled leadership, business and management practices to organizations that seek to enhance and improve the lives of people with and for whom they work. Please join me in welcoming one of Dartmouth's own, Reverend Leah D. Daughtry, class of '84.
Thank you, Dean Spears, for that introduction, and to President Kim, who I am honored to call my friend, and who has been a wonderful president for our beloved college, to the Dartmouth Gospel Choir, who I was privileged to serve as director for my 4 years here at Dartmouth, and to all of you on the dais and to all of you in the family of Dartmouth. I thank you for this wonderful opportunity. I'm humbled to be here to share with you today on this auspicious occasion. I was walking down Main Street yesterday, and I saw all the 14 jerseys and sweatshirts, and I felt impossibly old. I had flashbacks of my parents and me doing that same stroll down Main Street to buy my own set of jerseys and sweatshirts with the big 84 across the chest. And that was exactly 30 years ago. And 30 years ago, I was at my own convocation, sitting with my new classmates, and we were called Shmen back then, short for freshmen. And I was so excited about the journey I was starting, and I was excited about my new friends, and I was excited to finally be considered an adult. And I was excited because my parents had finally gone home. And there are two things that I remember about my own convocation. One is President Kimney addressing us for the first time in that distinctive Hungarian accent, men and women of Dartmouth. But secondly, and perhaps most importantly, I remember the deep sense of community that I felt that day as I locked arms with my new friends and sang the alma mater, which then was called Men of Dartmouth. I left Convocation that day knowing without a shadow of a doubt that Dartmouth belonged to me, and I belonged to Dartmouth, and that this was my place. And that sense of community and that sense of well-being and belonging undergirded and informed the rest of my Dartmouth career, and indeed my professional career, as I have endeavored to take that sense of community and recreate that sense of belonging in every place that I go. And that sense of camaraderie and belonging was an essential part of my education, because at its base, it was the simple idea that we don't have to all be alike or look alike or think alike in order for us to learn together and grow together, that we could come from different places and have different perspectives and different ideas, that we could even disagree and still remain a welcomed, valuable, contributing part of the same vibrant community. And with all due respect to my many friends in the faculty, it was perhaps the best and most enduring lesson that I learned at Dartmouth. And so I am convinced, and I would encourage you to consider, that education, the process of learning, is multifaceted. And done well, it acknowledges the totality of our being, that we are mind, body, and spirit. And that is to say that the best learning happens when mind, body, and spirit are engaged. To do it right, we must bring our whole selves to the learning process. Consider for a moment Joyce Kilmer's poem, Trees. She writes, "I think that I shall never see a poem as lovely as a tree whose hungry mouth is pressed against the earth's sweet flowing breast, a tree that looks to God all day and lifts her leafy arms to pray, a tree that may in summer wear a nest of robins in her hair, upon whose bosom snow has lain, who intimately lives with rain. Poems are made by fools like me, but only God can make a tree." Kilmer's language is timeless and beautiful, transporting us with vivid imagery and encouraging us to think more deeply about the wonder of trees. In a classroom, you can discuss the deeper meaning of the poem, and you can dissect the stanzas and examine their rhythms and meters, and that is great and that's important. But I would say that that's not enough. You need to stand next to a tree, to feel the rough bark of the oak tree or the smooth trunk of the magnolia. You need to marvel at the majesty of the redwood, or be protected from the storm by the expansive limbs of the sycamore, or hear the song of the birds singing in the fir tree. And then you can understand Kilmer's motivation, her own sense of the creative power of God, and her wonder and awe at the beauty of nature and her own place in it. So I would suggest that learning is equal parts intellectual discipline and practical application. The circle of learning is completed when the two meet, when theory is put into practice. There's a difference between studying government and politics in the classroom and working on a campaign or working in the government. Trust me, this government major knows that one is theory and one is practice. Practice gives theory life. Without practice, theory is just words on a piece of paper, ready to be challenged, eager to be tested. But on the other hand, practice without theory is experiment, constant supposition and questioning without foundational basis of underlying fact. So to be a true scholar, to be an avid learner, we must learn to match our intellectual pursuits with hands-on practical activity. As I often say to my congregation on Sundays, sitting in a church all day won't make you a Christian any more than sitting in a garage all day will make you a car. No one wants a heart surgeon who's never seen a heart. You can't call yourself a musician if you've never held an instrument or sung a melody. Real athletes don't watch the game, they play the game. So as you begin your academic journey, commit to jumping in with both feet. Roll your sleeves up and get dirty. Do everything you can to expand your horizons. View every new experience as an opportunity to learn. Give up the same old, the usual, and the what we always do. Eat lunch with new people. Sit at a different table. Walk on the other side of the street, take a different route to class, find a new place to study. Stepping out of our routine, out of the comfort zone we build for ourselves, helps us to challenge our assumptions, expand our thinking, enlarge our possibilities, and lift our vision of who we are and what we can be. That is why it is so important to be open to new experiences. Variety and diversity are important partners in learning. And that includes diversity of thought, diversity of place, diversity of experience, and diversity of friendships. If all of your friends look like you and talk like you and are from the same place as you, if you share all the same classes and live in the same dorm, you need new friends. There is something that is happening now in our country. The anger and frustration that is felt by so many in America is nearly palpable. And in the face of seemingly insurmountable problems, it seems that the voices of intolerance and divisiveness are growing louder and stronger every day. But to believe that our country's challenges are the result of any one people or any one community or any one issue is to default to the too easy, too obvious answer, and often demonstrates the limits of one's own experience. Most of us will never face the prospect of deportation. We'll never understand a child's fear that she will lose her father to an immigration sweep. Most of us will never understand the humiliation of being pulled over for driving while black. And most of us cannot fathom what it is like to run a gauntlet of protesters just to attend worship services. Most of us have never gone to war, or we've never escaped from a war-torn country. Because of our privilege, and we are privileged to be here, we've not had to use the hospital emergency room for health care. We've never had to choose between paying the mortgage or buying food. But even though we may not have had these experiences, it does not mean that we cannot think or act with compassion toward those to whom these stories belong. Our nation faces many challenges today, but they cannot and they will not be solved by finger-pointing, by accusations or blame. The spirit of our founding fathers and mothers, the spirit of our ancestors, the spirit of our nation calls us to shun the easy answers so deftly offered by isolation and ignorance. They call us to use our intellect, burnished by experience and exposure, and polished with hope and optimism. They call us to match theory with practice, to match our intellectual pursuits with practical application. They call us to use our education and our book learning as a stepping stone toward greater, more informed engagement in the world around us. The spirit of our ancestors, the spirit of our nation, the spirit of Dartmouth calls to you. They call you to be more and to do more. They call you to be better and to do better. They call you to build on our successes with successes of your own. They call you to be the ones who can lift all and diminish none, the ones who can see beyond difference to the common good, the ones who can bring about the beloved community, the ones who can finally make Dr. King's dream a reality. They call to you to be the ones. Answer their call, for you are the ones we have been waiting for. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Leah, for those profound words. Since coming to Dartmouth just over 1 year ago, Jim Yong Kim has earned distinction as a visionary and innovator who has brought his experience at tackling global health to bear on higher education. His leadership has heralded a new age for Dartmouth as the college moves into the 21st century and approaches its 250th year. While he started his college career with plans to become a philosopher, President Kim ultimately decided on medicine instead. He went on to co-found the extraordinary nonprofit Partners in Health and to direct the Department of HIV/AIDS at the World Health Organization. At Harvard, he became one of the world's foremost researchers in global health and a leading voice in the fight against multi-drug-resistant tuberculosis and HIV in developing countries. President Kim epitomizes the saying of former Dartmouth President John Sloan Dickey, that you must take on the world's troubles as your own. He came to Dartmouth knowing that he could be more effective by empowering each of you to take on the world's troubles, declaring at his inauguration, this historical moment requires a generation that unites the passion to transform the world with the intellectual capacity to tackle the most difficult scientific challenges, to apply sophisticated management strategies in new ways, to create art that resonates in a changing world, and to lead teams of people toward common goals. That is the generation that will deliver our long-cherished dreams. That is your generation. In the last year, President Kim stood at the helm as Dartmouth weathered the global financial crisis and launched a new field of study with the creation of the Dartmouth Center for Healthcare Delivery Science here at Dartmouth. He has worked tirelessly to ensure Dartmouth stays true to its unique mission of balancing exceptional teaching with first-rate research by supporting and encouraging students, faculty, and staff alike. In the coming years, I know he will help Dartmouth realize even greater levels of accomplishment. It is my pleasure to introduce you to this Dartmouth's 17th President, Jim Yong Kim.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Greetings, students, faculty, members of the Board of Trustees, and staff. Thank you so much, Reverend Daughtry, for joining us. We gather every year on this occasion to reflect on the legacy left almost 2.5 centuries ago by the founders Eleazar Wheelock and Samson Occam, to seek knowledge, to educate the most promising students, and prepare them for a lifetime of learning and responsible leadership. It's my great pleasure to welcome the class of 2014 to Dartmouth. You come to Hanover from 48 states and 43 countries, determined to learn, to be inspired, and to change the world. You are here because of what you have achieved and the promise of what you will accomplish. Dartmouth will provide you with the tools you need to be transformative leaders in the global community. Take advantage of all this college has to offer, and you will no doubt be prepared, in the words of former Dartmouth President John Sloan Dickey, to take on the world's troubles. I also welcome the college's new graduate students in the arts and sciences and those from Tuck, Thayer, and the medical school. In coming here, you will soon learn how our strong community spirit enlivens the academic life of this great institution, promoting a remarkable level of collaboration and collegiality. At Dartmouth, you will have unparalleled access to faculty who are leaders in their respective fields. This is the formula that has made us so successful for so many years. As our students enter their first year at Dartmouth, I enter my second. I am a sophomore, if you will, no longer new to this community, but not quite an upperclassman. I spent much of the past year doing what the members of the class of 2014 will start in less than 24 hours. Learn from Dartmouth's outstanding faculty. I have been their student, as I will continue to be over the course of my tenure here. Dartmouth's faculty is comprised of teacher scholars who are committed to instilling in you a passion for inquiry and analysis. They teach with the implicit understanding that you will join them in the discovery of new knowledge, engaging in the student-faculty partnership that is central to our collective mission. Among the many things I have learned from Dartmouth's faculty, one of the most significant lessons is the ability to write clearly, is that the ability to write clearly, effectively, and creatively may very well be the most important skill you will be taught in your time here. My expectation, as I've always said, is that each of you must go out and change the world after you have completed your time here. After many years of working on social problems like rural poverty and lack of access to health care, it has become clear to me that for you to succeed in your world-changing mission, you must leave Dartmouth with the ability to think clearly, imaginatively, and critically, and then render your thoughts in the written word. There are over 1,800 undergraduate and graduate students entering the college this year. Many of you are published authors, even journalists and poets. Let me be the first to congratulate you for your successes. But let me also tell you that none of you has yet reached your potential in your ability to think critically and write effectively. I made the mistake of not being properly introduced to the humanities and the lifelong task of becoming a better writer until graduate school, when I studied for my PhD in anthropology. It's not an exaggeration to say that studying new languages, philosophy, and literature as a graduate student fundamentally altered the course of my life. While I'd always been interested in politics, the underlying assumption I brought into medical and graduate school was that science and technology were the keys to tackling the most important human problems. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm still a wildly enthusiastic believer in the power of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics to help us solve problems. But it was in graduate school that I realized changing the world would require the ability, as one of your professors put it to me just the other day, to, and I quote, "See the world as it is, imagine the world you want to create, and then render that vision in a way that convinces others that it is both attainable and desirable." Right now, you don't know if it will be the study of literature, languages, or history that will help you see the world as it is. You don't know if it'll be the arts, philosophy, or mathematics that helps you imagine the world that you want to create. It's through hard work in all these fields that will allow you to render your vision in a way that convinces others that it is both attainable and desirable. But let me warn you, this process will interrupt your life like it did mine. Don't make the same mistake I did of not engaging in this challenge until after you graduate. That's the slow path to changing the world. Push yourself. Embrace the lifelong task of becoming a better thinker. Stoke your imagination and learn to write more effectively every day. In the midst of writing my own dissertation in anthropology, I had multiple episodes of writer's block. So at that time, I began an exercise that some have called morning pages. I wrote 3 pages of handwritten text on anything that was in my mind as soon as I woke up in the morning. One of your professors gives this very assignment to all his students, and if you take his class, he will tell you that the text you create will be, and I quote, "the diary of the transformation of your inner lives." To quote the journalist and author Brenda Euland, if you want to write well, quote, "know that it is good to work. Work with love and think of liking it when you do it. It is easy and interesting. It is a privilege. There is nothing hard about it but your anxious vanity and fear of failure," unquote. Do not expect writing to be easy, but learn to love it. Embrace the possibility of failure as you expose yourself on the page. And as Euland says, if you want to write well, try to discover your true, honest, untheoretical self. The second lesson I've learned is that few traits are more important than persistence. In his book Outliers, Malcolm Gladwell tells stories of great success and great failure, concluding that in addition to lucky breaks and accidents of history, what the most successful outliers have in common is persistence and around 10,000 hours to practice their craft. As a child, I developed a deep appreciation for the importance of persistence, as it is something of a national obsession in Korea and among Korean Americans. There was an article in the New York Times a few weeks ago about a woman named Cha Sa-sun, who lives in Wonju, which is in South Korea, about 112 miles south of Seoul, the nation's capital. Educated through only the 4th grade, Ms. Cha makes a living selling vegetables in the local market, but has become famous in recent months for her persistence. Hoping to be able to drive her grandchildren to the zoo, she took her driver's license test over 900 times in the last 5 years. Although she had to take 3 different buses and pay $5 each time she took the test, she finally received her license on the 960th attempt. Now, if you find yourself in the city of Wonju for some reason, maybe on a foreign study or language program, you might want to stay off the road right around the time that the zoo's open, but you get my point. Persistence is one of the key habits of mind you will need to be successful here and for the rest of your life. And that's not to say that you should decide now on one specific approach to your studies and stick with it regardless of the results. In 2002, the psychologist Carol Dweck decided to study students enrolled in the fall semester of Columbia University's General Chemistry course, the equivalent of our Chem 5. Professor Dweck found that the majority of students could be placed into 2 categories: those with a fixed mindset and those with what she called a growth mindset. As she explained in a 2009 speech, and I quote, "Fixed mindset students believe their intelligence is just a fixed trait. They worry about how clever they are. They don't want to take on challenges and make mistakes. The growth mindset students think, no, intelligence, or ability to do well, is something that you can develop." Professor Dweck found through her studies that students who exhibited the growth mindset received higher final grades than those in the fixed category. While many of the growth mindset students received bad results on 1 or 2 exams, the key difference between them and the fixed mindset students is that they were able to recover from a bad outcome. I maintain that your final grade in Chem 5 or almost any other class at Dartmouth is not an indication of your innate intelligence, but rather an indication of the quality of the strategy you choose. The lesson here is that you shouldn't be concerned about how you stack up against your classmates in terms of some notion of innate intelligence. We chose you because we know that all of you are capable of achieving great success here. Starting now, what matters most is persistence and a great strategy. There are many resources on campus, students, fellow classmates, to help you find the right strategy. You should begin finding those right now. In my freshman year as a student of Dartmouth, I've also come to appreciate a 3rd and final lesson, namely the importance of community. To the new students here today, you will soon find yourself engaged in an atmosphere of collegiality and cooperation unmatched by any campus I know, an atmosphere you will likely not experience again after you leave these hallowed halls. Embrace it, and it will embrace you. Know that the people who supported you on your Dartmouth Outing Club trip in your first biology lab or in the sculpture studio are the ones who will be there supporting you in 2064 when the class of 2014 returns for its 50th reunion. Please learn from what I have learned. Develop as imaginers, thinkers, and writers. Be persistent, be strategic, and fully embrace the entirety of the Dartmouth community. Understand, as Malcolm Gladwell has written, and I quote, "It is not the brightest who succeed, nor is success simply the sum of the decisions and efforts we make on our own behalf. It is rather a gift. Outliers are those who have been given opportunities and who have had the strength and presence of mind to seize them. The lesson here is very simple, but it is striking how often it is overlooked. We are so caught in the myths of the best and the brightest and the self-made that we think outliers spring naturally from the earth. All of you here were offered admission to Dartmouth because we feel that you are precisely the kinds of future outliers that the world's been waiting for. You're here at Dartmouth to learn, grow, and mature, so that once you leave us, you will go out into the world, make its troubles your own, and make those troubles melt away with your brilliance, your resolve, your compassion, and your tenacity. We've been waiting all summer for you to arrive. We're so happy to have you here, and it's my great privilege to welcome each and every one of you to the 241st year of Dartmouth College. Thank you.
Thank you, President Kim. Please rise and join the Glee Club in singing the alma mater. Please be seated. I would like to remind everyone that immediately following this ceremony, the community lunch gathering will take place on Tuck Drive. I know how pleased President Kim would be if you are able to join us on this occasion. As we conclude Convocation with the recessional, we would be grateful if you would remain in your seats while the faculty members exit. Class of 2014, after the platform group has processed down the center aisle, please follow the green key ushers out of the building to the lawn in front of Dartmouth Hall for your class picture. That concludes Convocation.